Welcome, thank you for signing up for our free 4-part training series. You're going to learn some awesome stuff about how to be a DJ. Well, you may be wondering which club I'm stood outside of. I'm at the Defected Records Night here at the Ministry of Sound in London, England. One of the most iconic nightclubs in the world for decades. When you talk about making it as a DJ, being good enough to play the biggest club or festival in your city or country, well, that's a level you should be aiming at. And of course, to DJ somewhere like Ministry of Sound, well, that would really be the holy grail. I'd put money on it that there are dozens of people in that queue there who dream of playing one day here at Ministry of Sound. And where do they want to be? Well, they certainly don't want to be out here in the cold in that queue. They don't even want to be there on the dance floor. No, this is where they want to be. Now, there are 4 rooms of music at Ministry of Sound, and that means 4 DJ booths, but this is the big one. This is called The Box, and it's home to the world's most famous sound system. This is the room that every big DJ wants to play in. DJs like Armin van Buuren, Hardwell, Calvin Harris, Afrojack, David Guetta, Paul van Dyk, right back to the old school legends like Morales, Sanchez, Sasha, so on. All of them have stood right where I'm standing now and rocked this room. So how do you get the DJing skills you need to be good enough to play somewhere like this? And what did all those guys I just mentioned do to establish themselves as DJs in their early days? What is it that DJs like you have got to do to get booked in the best club in your city? Well, we're going to be answering those questions later on in this series of free training videos. But first, I want to talk about the gear, the equipment, the hardware. And here's something really interesting, and it's something we see a lot at Digital DJ Tips. You know, we've got a huge YouTube channel with hundreds of videos, millions of plays. We cover everything from DJing basics to all the world's biggest music fairs to some pretty detailed tuition. As I'm sure you know, I'm sure you've seen it, but I'm going to tell you something now. The videos that consistently get hundreds of thousands of plays are nearly always the equipment videos, the reviews. With so much DJing hardware out there, we see beginner DJs time and time again agonizing over the gear. What they're not realizing is that it's not really the kit that plays great DJ sets. In fact, it's not the kit at all. It's the DJ. And that's one of the things all these successful guys worked out really early on in their careers, that performance is what's important. Now, to be honest, many of them didn't have much choice. They learned on stuff like this, 2 turntables and a mixer. That was it. That was the end of it. Even later on, they were learning on CDJs. It was all pretty standard. Well, nowadays, of course, DJing with laptops and software and controllers, it's brought the art to millions. And many of today's top DJs also use software. But still, the way they think about the gear is really very different to nearly all beginners. Remember, it's not the gear that plays great DJ sets, it's the DJ. Because of that, we really do think you're going to love what we've got for you in this video. People who know this stuff don't like to share it, but I'm going to, because frankly, without it, you're never going to get anywhere. So anyway, as we're here at Ministry of Sound, I'm guessing that your inner geek is dying to see what we've got here. So let's have a quick tour of the world's most famous DJ booth. So I'm here with John. Hello, John, sound engineer at Ministry of Sound.
Hi,
good to see you again. So what we're going to do here is have a quick tour with John, the guy in charge of all the gear that's in here. So there's a lot of it. Let's start here.
Okay, so what we've got is we've got 2 DJ setups here. They both run independently down to our mixing desk at the front of house over there. So basically you can have 2 DJs going back to back on their individual setup, so they can have it however they like. Some people like the turntables here, someone might have a laptop over there, and then both can go together, or one can be getting ready while the other one's playing, so you're not interfering, reaching behind, unplugging and all that kind of thing.
So you've got turntables. How many people are still using real vinyl, and how many people are using them to control software?
Normally they're controlling software, but occasionally, very rarely, we do get DJs using vinyl. Normally drum and bass DJs on special events. Okay, so that's cool. So we've also got CDJs here, obviously, quite a lot of them. Why? So do people tend to use all of them, or they just there as spares or backups, or what's the thinking? Normally they'll be using 2, and there'll be one as a backup, or there'll be one they'll be using for acapellas or something like that, just to drop a little song.
Okay, so let's move down. Let's have a look at what else we've got. So this is the second setup.
Yeah, this is probably the main setup, because DJs think they're sort of more in the room when they're standing on this side of the booth.
So there's nothing in front of them, so they're kind of more in touch with the people.
But that is just purely because of the setup we've got here. If we didn't have the turntables here, then these CD players would be down here. So it's just a layout thing.
Okay, so we've got loads more CDJs.
Yeah.
What's this?
This is an RMX 1000. It's an effects unit that plugs into the mixer. So you can actually launch some samples from it. You can do echoes. You can do all sorts of funky effects on there.
It gets used a lot.
Yeah. This is standard. This is always in the booth.
Okay. And moving on down here, we've just got the other half, really.
Yeah, we just got more CDJs.
So talk to me about this, because we've got here is very traditional DJ gear. We've got CDJs, mixers, a couple of decks, legacy stuff, and we've got an effects unit. As you said, still pretty standard. You tend to find this stuff everywhere. Yeah. But do all DJs come and play on this, or do they bring their own gear sometimes as well?
Normally we get quite a few DJs bringing laptops. They'll be using all different types of software. You can't really say that Traktor's used all the time, Serato's used all the time. It really is a mix-up. We change the booth every night. So
you can just take this stuff out, stick it in a cupboard, and then they'll set their own gear up and play here, Ministry of Sound, the box, playing with whatever they bring, a Traktor controller or a Serato setup or whatever. So this must be, as a sound engineer, a little bit challenging sometimes with guys coming in with all kinds of different gear. What's the kind of things that make you go, oh God, and the types of things that make you go, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, it's going to be all right. What separates the guys who haven't got a clue from the guys who really know their stuff?
There's not a lot really. Normally it's what they bring and what they expect us to provide. We would never provide a controller for a DJ. Sometimes they turn up and they're like, right.
Turn up expecting you to provide a controller?
They just bring their laptop and go, right, I'm ready. And you're like, hang on a second. No, it's not quite going to work like that.
Well, there's a tip, folks. Always bring your controller if you want to DJ on a controller. I'd never have thought that. That's crazy. So they turn up with their controller, with their laptop. And what do they do kind of right and wrong at that stage, assuming they brought their own gear?
Okay, the wrong thing to do is to just come up and start setting it up yourself. In a venue like this, there are technicians on hand that have put a lot of time into getting this set up. So we can do it in a couple of minutes. We know where everything is, and we'll have it all ready, rocking for you.
So bring your gear, make sure you know how to use it.
Yeah.
Use the technicians that are in place to help you set stuff up.
Definitely.
And ask questions. Don't try and do stuff yourself.
Always ask.
And apart from that, it's okay. Bring your own gear. Bring what you're comfortable using.
Definitely.
Because there's a perception among new DJs that they have to learn to use the standard stuff that the guys who've been doing it for years are using. So that's not really the case at all.
Not at all. Especially in the other rooms, a lot of people are bringing controllers because it's what they use at home, so it's what they're comfortable with. And we're always a lot happier when someone's comfortable, they're relaxed, and they're up for a party.
Okay, so it's not the gear, it's the skills. You get that. But the problem still remains, you need the right gear for you so you can start working on what really matters, because only when you've got your hardware and software sorted do you get to be where you really want to be, which is playing somewhere like this when it's rocking. A bit like this. So we're going to leave a rocking Ministry of Sound now and head back to Digital DJ Tips HQ, where I can tell you in a little bit more peace and quiet what you need to know to make the right gear choices for you and potentially save making some very expensive mistakes. So let's look at what you need in your DJ setup in your home to learn to DJ. What's really important, and you might be surprised at how simple this really is. There's 4 things. You need 2 independent music sources, 2 ways of playing music, and those sources need to have speed controls on them so that you can alter, slow down and speed up that music. That's the fundamental of DJing for many years now, is to be able to do that. That's where beat matching becomes possible. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to be able to blend those 2 music sources, and that's what the mixer section does on most DJ gear. It's there to let you blend stuff together. The third thing is you need to be able to listen to those music sources independently from each other. Your equipment needs to be able to present 2 outputs. And then the fourth thing is a way of hearing those outputs, which is a pair of headphones and some speakers. So you need two things that can play the music for you. The headphones are for listening to it in secret, and the speakers are for presenting your finished output to your audience. And that's it. So let's look at the way that I learned to DJ, and that everyone did because it's the only choice we had a long time ago, a traditional record deck setup, and I'll show you all those items on it.
So, 2 turntables. This is our 2 music sources. The music itself is being provided by 2 pieces of old school vinyl. 2 ways of altering the speed. If I was to start this tune playing here, this is slowing down and speeding up the tune for me. This is the mixer. This is letting me alter the sonic characteristics of each tune, but more importantly, mix them together. Because I've got that variable speed, because I've got my headphones to prepare the next tune and make it all sound really nice, I'm in a position to mix it in. I'm doing it out loud so you can hear what I'm doing. So now I've got my 2 tunes with the speeds all set right, played together and sounding pretty good. There's one, and there's the other. And that is how DJs mixed for many, many, many years. Now, of course, without the headphones and without the speakers here, I wouldn't be in a position to either play to my audience or to get everything ready for myself. So, this is how it was. This stuff ruled the world. And then there was a revolution. Around the turn of the century, something big happened in DJ booths, and it was this. This is a CDJ setup, and this of course is a CD, just like we saw in Ministry of Sound, and you'll see in clubs all over the world, in your town as well, without doubt. So what was it that changed here? Well, not only could that CD that I've just put in there carry all kinds of music that you couldn't get on vinyl, so your own remixes, stuff your friends had done, stuff you downloaded online that was not released yet, and so on. So the music available to you was a lot wider, but these units started to introduce some of the things that as digital DJs we now take utterly for granted. Let's have a look at some of those things. Well, to start with, it had cue points that you could save, so you could jump to parts of your tunes very easily, time and time again, without worrying about where they were. Obviously, something that you can't get on vinyl. It had looping. Looping allows you to just take a section of the tune and play it over and over again, of course. And that's going to carry on until I press the exit button. Pretty fundamental stuff, but brand new when CDJs came up. It changed the way DJing sounded because people could be more creative with their tunes. And the master tempo, invented by Pioneer. When you slow a tune down, the pitch goes down, it gets lower. And when you speed it up, clearly it gets higher. With the master tempo engaged, that doesn't happen. And this was brand new. This is called key lock on all DJ controllers, and it's old hat nowadays. So not only were these fun and exciting, because you could play music from different places, but they had more features and more functions on them than we'd ever seen before. And they didn't jump, you know? You could jump them around, jump up and down on the DJ booth and they'd carry on playing. You couldn't do that with a record deck. But fundamentally, they're exactly the same. We haven't even changed the mixer, the headphones or the speakers here. That's all doing exactly what it was doing on the vinyl setup. These are your 2 music sources, and there's your control to alter the speed of them. So that is just exactly as it's always been, and with those 4 things, you can DJ. So what was the next big revolution? Well, actually it wasn't the DJ gear at all. It was the way we listen to our music, the way we collect our music, buy our music, and consume our music. And of course it was laptops, computers, iTunes, iPods, and so on. Suddenly digital music files were the thing. And to get that into the DJ booth, you needed extra equipment. Well, actually, you needed to add stuff on top of what was already there. You needed something called digital vinyl. This is a Rane SL2 Serato Scratch Live digital vinyl system, and this plugged into what we were just looking at gave you a load of advantages. The main one being that you could take your whole collection with you. You suddenly weren't limited to a couple of boxes of 160 pieces of vinyl or a few thousand tunes on CD. Your music didn't get lost if you mislaid that stuff because it was backed up from computer. You know, a load of extra stuff brought to the table. So let's set this Serato system up and I'll show you what it looks like. This little box of tricks here is the heart of a DVS or digital vinyl system. It's called an audio interface, and it plugs between your existing equipment and the computer. Yes, there is a computer in the DJ booth for the first time. Digital vinyl was in a way the transition between old ways and new ways. It was the first time this stuff all came together. So let's take a closer look at it. Inside the box, as well as the audio interface, was vinyl and CDs. Now this looked and felt like normal vinyl, but with a crucial difference. When you listen to it, it sounds like computer code. And the same with the CDs. They're exactly the same code on them. And this is something that can only be read by the DJing software that's running on the laptop. So with the magic of a single click, now we can control music on our laptop using this. There's one and there's the CD. Now let's talk about how revolutionary what's going on here really is. Without changing any of the gear that was already in DJ booths worldwide, and by bringing a laptop and a little box, you could suddenly bring all of your music with you. You could suddenly escape the tyranny of vinyl and CDs. And this stuff took off and is still extremely popular. Now you've seen how complicated it looks. You know, we've got our laptop here, we've got our SL2 box, we've got loads of wires and leads and stuff. This stuff takes a while to set up. You often see DJs around the back of mixers messing around with stuff, and they'll tell you that one of the things they really hate about this kind of setup is having to plug in and unplug with a little torch. And you know, in a busy club it can be quite daunting. But nonetheless, with all the complications on show here, what's actually happening is very simple, and it's the same old four things. We have two music sources with two changeable pitches so that we can mix. Now the music is no longer on these sources, it's now in the computer via that box, but there's still two music sources. We're still going through a mixer, and we've still got our headphones and our speakers so that our audience can hear one thing and we can hear the other. It's exactly the same. But as I've just said, all of this stuff, all of these wires, all of this expense, a mixer like this, CDJs or record decks, they're not cheap things to buy. And plugging it all in and unplugging it all is not convenient. This was never going to be where this all ended. And I'm sure you know what's coming next, because this whole big setup can nowadays be replaced by one of these. This is a modern DJ controller. In this one box is everything you've seen in all the setups we've shown you so far. Not only is it simpler to set up, there's very few leads going in and out, one lead going into your laptop with the software, and that's it. But it's more powerful than anything we've shown you so far as well. There's big effects systems here, all fully configurable. There are big producer style sections here with pads on them that let you trigger samples and slice your music up and so on. There's touch sensitive buttons, there's filters built into stuff. There's the sync button, which you see on all DJ controllers nowadays, that automates the mixing function to make it easy for you to mix when you really don't have the manual beat matching skills. This has got so much power in it, and yet it's made DJing easier than ever. DJ controllers are where it's at now, and they sell in many, many thousands. But this is quite a big one. This has got spinning bits and it's expensive. Really, all the functions on that controller are on that controller there. This is what the lower end Native Instruments controller, the S2. And do you know what? This is a Behringer Micro. This costs $60. If you have seen some of our other training, you might have seen Steve Canuetto, our scratch tutor, scratching pretty convincingly on one of these. I've seen him do it in front of 200 people in a conference. If you can scratch on one of these, you can certainly DJ on it. And why not? It's got two independent music sources with speed controls feeding into a mixer, and using your computer or a very cheap audio interface, you can have headphones and speakers working separately with one of these. So I'm sure you're starting to get the hang of what I'm trying to drill into you here. As long as your equipment has got those four things, you can learn to DJ properly, and DJ to the standards of people playing clubs all over the world, and the person who's playing in the very spot, in the very club that you've got in your head that you want to play in. Now, there are other hints and tips that are going to help you decide what gear is important for you. In fact, having reached this far, you're probably thinking, well, thanks, Phil. You've just shown me all the gear under the sun and you told me I can use all of it. What the hell? How's that going to help me make my choice? And that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to show you some pros and cons of the various types of gear that are out there. So that was a bit of fun, but there was a serious element to that, which of course was to identify those four important things in all kinds of DJ gear that you need if you're going to learn to DJ properly with it. But before we go any further, the one thing I really want to impress on you, which is so important, and I know it's important because of the hundreds of people who write to Digital DJ Tips in quite often a lot of stress, either something's about to go wrong or it went wrong last night or whatever with their DJ gear. And the reason it went wrong is that they didn't read the damn manual. Please, when you buy anything, and we're going to go through the pros and cons of everything in a minute, please read that manual like it's a Bible. It's your safeguard against stuff going wrong, and you don't want stuff to go wrong when you're performing in front of other people. Nothing is worse. I still have nightmares about empty dance floors, music stopping, and you know, if someone who's DJed all their life can have those problems, believe me, you don't want them. One of the biggest offences is to read the manual. You have to do that. Okay, I want to give you a plus and minus of vinyl, CDJs, DVS and controllers so you can have a more informed idea about which one might be right for you. So let's start with vinyl. Well, the plus to vinyl is that to many people it is DJing. You know, it's purist. It's what it is. It's two turntables, 2 records and a mixer. And you can't get more bare bones than that. Well, they're right. But that's also one of the big minuses of it. To me, that's boring. So I'm sorry to say that, but I got bored of vinyl a long time ago. I'm glad to use digital. The gates are open now. I don't want to close them again. But if you do, I don't hold that against you. Vinyl is probably for you. You're going to need to be ready for the cost of the records. They're damned expensive. The fact that you can't get a lot of good music on record. And of course, the cost of the gear. You know, turntables aren't cheap. Good turntables aren't cheap. And a turntables and mixer setup is going to set you back a lot of money. So the next one is CDJs. Well, what's good about CDJs? The obvious thing, as you saw at Ministry of Sound, is that they're in clubs. That's what you're going to find when you walk into a club. You know, that's a big bonus. It's a big advantage. If you're used to it, there's absolutely no step up. There's no learning curve. You can use digital music on CDJs. So all of a sudden you're not tied to the vinyl. You can start to do what I was talking about a minute ago, and you can start to collect digital music and burn it to CD. Of course, you've still got to burn the CDs, but you get the drift. So suddenly the world of music's all open to you. Of course, a good CDJ system is going to cost you a lot of money, even more than a good vinyl system, and also it's still limited. It's still, although it's got kind of like drifting in at the edges, some of the bells and whistles of digital, it is not digital. And you ask any digital DJ who's had to use a CDJ system, for instance, what they thought of it. One of the first things I'll tell you is that it couldn't do half the stuff they wanted it to do. What about DVS? What about the box that plugs into either a vinyl system or a CDJ system and lets you use it digitally? Well, these can be really, really good if you've already got one of those systems, because for a relatively small extra spend, you can turn what you're used to into pretty much a full-blown digital system. The downsides of them are that they're very, very, very stupidly pricey if you don't own any of that other gear. You know, it doesn't make any sense at all. Don't do it, folks. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg to buy a whole analog setup and then tack on a whole DVS system. But also another downside of them is that if you talk to any DJ who uses DVS, who loves it, they will all admit this, that they can be a real pain to set up. They're a pain to set up at home sometimes, but in a crowded, dark DJ booth, when you're reaching around the back of things, trying to plug in and find spare channels, trying to get it all working, there's another DJ playing, there's a full dance floor. If you had a choice, you wouldn't want to be doing that stuff. There's a complicated setup there, and things can go wrong when you're doing that. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. So of course, now we come down to DJ controllers. Well, they're fantastic value, they really are. We showed you the NS7 II from Newmark. That thing costs less than one decent Pro Pioneer CDJ player. One. That whole Newmark system, and that's probably the best DJ controller there is. Most DJ controllers cost a fraction of that price, and indeed I showed you a $60 controller that can do it. I wouldn't recommend you taking one of those into a club, by the way, but it's possible. So the price is a really big factor. Also, they are the absolute cutting edge. Software DJing, which is what it is, your controller is controlling software. Software DJing is where it's happening. That's where the innovations are happening. That's where new things are introduced. New things are not being introduced really on CDJs and definitely not on vinyl. It's all happening in software. If you want to be on that cutting edge, it's where you've got to be. It's why software DJs and controller DJs find CDJs and vinyl very boring. And it's also just ridiculously easy to set it up. It's plug and play. It really is. And the manufacturers have gone to a lot of lengths to make sure that once you have plugged it all in, that using it is simple. You know, there's lots of things. There's the sync button. Love or hate it, it's there. That makes beat matching easy. There is pre-analysis of all your tunes, so it knows the BPMs, and so you can do really tight looping and other stuff that you just can't do on CDJs, and you certainly can't do on vinyl. So there's a lot more fun, a lot more easily accessible with controllers, and for the money you spend on them, really for most people they're a no-brainer. But there are downsides. The biggest downside for me is that there's still a stigma in some areas, and we hear this from a lot of people. You know, you heard the guy John from Ministry of Sound saying that people can turn up at Ministry of Sound and use their DJ controller. Now to me, once you're hearing someone like that saying it, the cards are falling. You know, it's only a matter of time before it's going to be completely acceptable. But I know that where you are, there might be a club manager or a promoter who doesn't want you to use the controller. So I'm not going to discount that. There is still that stigma. But also, it can be hard to fit DJ controllers into some DJ booths. You know, that Newmark one again, the big one we showed you. Imagine fitting that into a tight, cramped, provincial club DJ booth. You know, sometimes it's just not going to be possible. You turn up with that under your arm, and that could be part of why a lot of managers don't like it. They don't want their DJ booths to be pulled apart and wrecked and so on. So there are downsides to controllers, it has to be said. If you've already got any of those systems that we just talked about, vinyl, CDJs, a DVS system, a controller system, I really hope that by now you're completely clear that you can learn to DJ like a pro on exactly what you already own. If you don't already own a system, well, controllers are my thing. I could talk to you for hours and hours about them, but that's not what this video is about. So what I've done is prepare a guide called How to Buy a DJ Controller, how to choose a DJ controller. And this guide is available to you completely for free. If you don't already have it, then please download it from the link underneath this video. It goes through all the main software systems. It goes over again the different types of DJ system that you can get that we just talked about. And then it gives you solid top 5 recommendations in various areas, including actually iPads, which believe it or not, you can do this stuff on as well. Go and get that guide. It's all in there, and it'll save you having to remember or watch this video over and over again. Now, my final piece of advice before you go and shell out your hard-earned cash on a DJ system is just to think ahead a little bit as to where you're going to want to play with it. You know, am I going to be playing parties where I'm getting paid for my DJing? Am I going to be playing in my local club where the DJ booth is very small? Am I going to be playing in a place where they don't care? You know, you can set up what you want. Just have half an eye on where you're hoping to play, where you want to play, or where your gigs are, so that you've at least considered any potential things that might occur along the way when you're ready to play in those places. It's not a big one, but it's certainly worth thinking through now. Now, one of the great things about what we're teaching you here is that once you understand the fundamentals of 4 main things on any DJ system, you can DJ on just about any DJ system, and that means that you don't necessarily have to take your DJ controller along with you to clubs or to events and so on. You know, you take your music along on whatever format works, and you DJ on their gear. And that's what I meant when I was telling you about how the pro DJs think about DJ gear that rookies never ever ever do. Pro DJs never walk up to a DJ setup and think, have I got this at home? No, okay, I can't play on it. They walk up to a DJ setup and say, how do I get my music into it? Where are the speed controls for my 2 music sources? Where's the mixer? Where do I plug my headphones in? Where's the master output? Bang, I'm off. And that's how you will be thinking when you learn some of the fundamental skills of DJing that you can do on any of this gear. You know, DJing is fun. Going to clubs and doing your stuff in front of packed dance floors is fun. And the last lame thing I want to happen to you is for you to walk up to a load of gear and say, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't play on that. You know, pro DJs are not like that, and you ought not to be like that either.
So we're back at Ministry of Sound, we're in the VIP room, and let me tell you, wherever you are in the world, I recommend that you make it a lifetime's ambition to get to London and get here at least once, because it's awesome. So let's get back to DJ gear. Today we showed you how important it is to understand the options, and we gave you a guide to help you to do that. We showed you how vital it is to think ahead to where you'll want to play, as there's no right gear anymore for all occasions. And we also outlined the importance of learning every single function on your kit inside out, which basically means learn the instructions. Remember, all of this is to get you past worrying about your hardware and software and on to what's actually important, which is what we're going to move on to next. You know, the biggest question we get asked by DJs who buy their gear and then sit there scratching their heads going, what next, is how do I transition smoothly from one track to the next like a pro? Well, if this is you, you're going to love the next video, where we're going to blow the lid on what's really important when it comes to mixing. Have you ever found yourself aimlessly practicing, feeling like you're just not getting it? Feeling like somehow it's the digital gear or the software or the way you're learning that's to blame? Have you ever wondered how the big DJs effortlessly pull smooth blends out of the bag on any gear while still clearly having the time of their lives behind the decks? Here's a hint, it ain't the sync button. Well, this is what you're going to find out next time. By the way, if you think we're going to be showing you loads of fiddly cue juggling and sample trickery and deck looping and all other stuff like that, you may be really surprised to know that there's actually just 2 killer secrets that all pro DJs know. Once you know those, you're at least 80% of the way there. Many DJs never go any further and have long, well-paid careers. We're going to detail about both of those vital skills. So finally, I'd love you to join in the comments below. Tell me what setup you've got. Describe the things that are worrying you the most about jumping from the gear you use at home now to playing in a real venue or making the perfect mixtape, doing an online radio show, whatever it is you're aiming at. And please also let me know what you thought of this first video. So thanks for watching. See you next time.